Hello everyone, this is Alexander Semenenko from Voronezh. Today I'd like to speak for the second time on my recently published ebook, which is translated, the title of which is translated into English as the Standard of the Chariot Burial, or Why Are Uralo-Kazakhstan Burials with the Carts of the Bronze Epoch not chariot burials? Why have I decided to make the second video on the same topic? Because after uploading this book, after its circulation in the internet, I have got some so-called reviews. As I have predicted, the book was encountered either with ignorance or with some kind of critical remarks, mostly from Europe, and there were some positive remarks coming mostly, of course, from India. I even had a short discussion on Facebook, Russian group on the archaeological news. It's quite large for Russia, 32,500 members in it. And there was one quite well-known Russian pseudo-chariot archaeologist. His name is Pavel Fedorovich Kuznetsov, and he's from Samara State University. Now he works as a director of Samara Archaeological Museum, and he is one of the creators and retranslators of the pseudo-scientific pseudo-chariot myth, of the chariot character, of the burials with the traces of some wheels or carts of unknown type in Sintashta-Petrovka-Alakul-Andronovo cultures. So he wrote some critical remarks addressing me, and I answered him point by point. After that, he used the ad hominem, so-called pseudo-argument, so he personally attacked me and stopped the conversation. That is the reaction, the typical reaction of a pseudo-chariot archaeologist. He's a professional archaeologist, but in that case he's a pseudo-scientist, because he has no real proofs to refute my conclusions. But still, there were some critical remarks, and I want to answer them in advance or just at the very beginning of the appearance. One of the most important faults of my book, they say, is that I don't understand the term, the concept of chariot. They tell me that the chariot is necessarily that chariot necessarily must be a horse drawn to wheels chariot with spoked wheels. But this is the wrong. This is the narrow definition of the chariot. I start from the definition of the chariot developed by two eminent Uralo-Kazakhstan, they are Uralo from Ural University, Epimachov and Chuchushkov. They are two archaeologists. Their article on pseudo-chariot burials and pseudo-chariots of Sintashta-Petrovka-Alakul-Andronovo was published in online in the Journal of the World Prehistory in 2018, and I criticize it in my book very sharply, alongside with many books of the same authors like Epimachov, Chichushkov, Novozhonov, Kuznetsov, Genin, Zdanovich, the second Zdanovich, the junior, and some others. So I criticize them, and they don't like it, of course, and they blame me that I don't understand the terminology of the pseudo-chariot archaeology of the Bronze Epoch. They even blamed me that I am not a true archaeologist, but as I have already told you, I graduated from the chair of the archaeology and ancient world history of Voronezh State University, history faculty, and I had many archaeologists as my university teachers because my specialization was the archaeology and the history of the ancient world. So Professor Pryahin, Doctor of Archaeology, of History and Archaeology, one of the most eminent Soviet and Russian pseudo-chariot archaeologists of the steppe archaeology of the Bronze Epoch, was my personal teacher, lector. He lectured me several courses in archaeology of the very Eurasian Bronze Epoch steppe archaeology. Also Yuri Petrovich Matveyev, one of the eminent pseudo-chariot archaeologists whom I at the same time respect very much for his personal qualities. And some other professional archaeologists, they were my university teachers, so I have the certificate that I have graduated from Voronezh State University, and all those archaeological disciplines, they are enumerated with perfect marks in this certificate. So my education is undoubtful. I am a historian and an archaeologist by education. So this the blame of them is false. And about terminology, about terms, about whether I understand the definition of the horse chariot, of a true chariot correctly. Of course, I understand it correctly, and even better than they do understand it, because I develop their narrow definition of the chariot, the narrow definition of the chariot proposed by Chichushkov and Yupimachov in their several papers. And they speak that the chariot should have 3 sideboards. Yes, I agree with this, but not all chariots have sideboards. Some chariots have instead the system of railing, or even one stand, a front stand. I will show it to you. But what is very important for a real chariot is to have the sideboards, or a system of railing, or a front stand, or a special handle high enough to be used as a tool for keeping a balance of the charioteer while moving in this chariot, while turning in this chariot, while jumping in this chariot, while stopping this chariot, and so on. Speaking about the chariot animals, they claim that only horses could and must or may be used as chariot animals. And this is of course not true, because we know even from the works of Kuzmina, Elena Yefimovna, the use of the pseudo-chariot archaeology, as they call it, the use of the chariot archaeology in their books. She states, following the lines of the Western archaeologists, that Syria was one of the epicenters of the chariot technology development, and their large asses and half asses were used. They were even larger than a true horse. They were used to draw battle carts. She calls them so. And there was even a burial of an ass with cheek pieces and the system of harness on its skeleton. So it's dated around 2000 BCE, and this information is given in my book. So we know that half-asses were used as drawing animals of the ancient Sumerian battle carts. I call them chariots because they have all three necessary elements of the true chariot, that is the system of wheels and axle, that is the draft pole and yoke saddles, or something else that is of that kind, and that is the chariot body with three side boards with the opening at the rear, at the back, high enough to or a system of railing with a special handle for the charioteer to keep balance, not to fall from the chariot while moving into it. Today I want you to concentrate on the illustrative part of my book, just to show you why do I state, and I state it with all certainty and without any doubt, that a true chariot could have solid disc wheels, that a true chariot could be drawn not only by horses, true horses, but also by other equids like half-asses, for example, or even just asses, large asses of Syrian breed, and also even by bulls. I am not speaking it without any grounds. Every word in my book is supported by an exact and concrete archaeological and museum fact. That is what I want to show you in this video report. So let us turn to the huge illustrative section of my book. As I have already told you, there are 575 illustrations in my book on these pseudo chariots of Ural-Kazakhstan steppe of the Bronze epoch. And I just won't speak much about this. I just will show you the pictures, the photos of these very real museum and archaeological items, and you will make conclusions yourself. So I start from the silver vessel of the Bactria or Bactria Margiana archaeological culture civilization. It's from Louvre Museum. You here see the accession number. It's dated between 2300 and 1700 BC. And here we have a clear depiction of two bulls with horns drawing a chariot. This is a bull chariot. We have a drawing published in the scientific papers. I will show it to you. Now you see the drawing. You see very clearly the wheel. You see some kind of railing high enough to hold it while moving. You see a person, a charioteer, standing on this chariot. You see some kind of draft pole leading to the bull team, and you see two bulls drawing this chariot. So this is the true chariot. And when Novozhonov states that this is not a chariot but a battle wagon or a battle cart, it's wrong, because even Frankfurt, one of the eminent French archaeologists, whom Novozhonov himself twice called my scientific teacher. So this scientific teacher of Novozhonov, of one of the invasionists of the pseudo-chariot archaeology from Kazakhstan, this teacher of Novozhonov, a Frenchman, Frankfurt, he states twice in one of his articles, English articles, it is in my book, and twice in the French article of his, it is also in my book, that there are two kinds of vehicles depicted in this vessel. One is a four-wheeled bull wagon, and the second, sitting, you see it is for sitting, and the second is the true chariot. A true bull chariot with the pair of bulls drawing it with one wheel, and here at the drawing we see even some kind of spokes, maybe there were some spokes depicted, but I do not insist, because a chariot with disc wheels, with solid wheels, may seem as heavy for chariot team, but it is, of course, it is certainly, undoubtedly not heavy for a bull team. And nobody in archaeology, in experimental archaeology, compared in what is better. I do not know such works. What is better, to draw a chariot with disc wheels, solid wheels, or to draw a chariot with spoked wheels? We know from the Olympian bicycle sport that disc wheels are widely used in Olympic sports, winning medals for those cyclists. Disc wheels are used as the rear wheel of the bicycle inside the buildings, and it's used also outside the building. So we know that disc wheels are better aerodynamically for riding the bicycle than the spoked wheels in Olympic sport. And when we turn to chariots, nobody led ever the special exploration what kind of chariot is better for driving with a horse team, or with an equid team, or with a bull team. No one. And they state that solid disc wheel chariot is worse than spoked one. We just don't know. But what we absolutely can be sure of, that a chariot with disc wheels, with solid wheels, for two bulls is not a problem to draw it. So this is the first item. I start with, it's the ancient in this collection of mine. Then we come to the famous Daimabad hoard. It's dated either to the late mature Harappa or to the late Harappa. I give the broad chronology, 2200 and to 1400 BC, but we should remember, and I give this picture, that the hoard consists of 4 items, and all these animals are depicted in the mature Harappan seals and sealings and figurines: an elephant, a rhinoceros, buffalo, and zebu bulls. They are all very often depicted in the Mohenjo-Daro seals and others on other artifacts of mature Harappa. So one shouldn't forget this, being a scientist. That's why I'm sure that this hoard belongs rather to the mature or late mature Harappa than to the post-late mature Harappa of the Daimabad culture. So, and what do we see here? We see here a true chariot drawn by 2 zebu bulls. It has disc wheels, but it is not a cart at all. We see how light it is and how little it is. It is enough space here on the bottom of the chariot to stand only for one person, a charioteer. We see a system of railings here, and they are very high. They come up to the shoulder at his sides. And let us look at the other views of this picture. This is the front view, and we see here the special railing, and we see even that the charioteer is holding it with his left hand for keeping balance. And we see the stand here. We see how limited spot is here for the person to call it a cart. It is not a cart at all. It is a true chariot. Undoubtedly, it is a true chariot with disc wheels and drawn by 2 zebu bulls. The bulls look like horses, and that's why some archaeologists speak that they are not true bulls, but they are a fusion of bulls and of horses. It is not correct, because if we watch many numerous videos on uploaded onto YouTube video channel with the demonstration of the traditional Indian humped bull chariots in India. Now we see how horse-like are these bulls with the humps are. They look like horses, but they have very long horns and they have prominent humps. Their tails are different, but in general they look like horses. So the creator of these two figurines of two humped bulls, he didn't lie to us. On the contrary, he made a very true depiction of a typical Zebu bulls of India, looking like slim horses, but with hump, with horns, and with a bull tail. And one more, and again very close picture, and you see here all the structure of the true chariot. No doubts about this. And when I see this true chariot with disc wheels drawn by two bulls, the other picture again, drawn by two bulls, who is lying? Me? That the true chariot can be drawn by two humped bulls and have disc wheels, or they, dozens of them, blaming me that I do not understand the true definition of a chariot. Of course they are lying. They are liars. They are not scientists in this case. Because scientists must not lie. And they lie to you and to themselves, speaking that this is not a true chariot. I state this with all certainty. And let us move again, the next view of the same. You see very clearly, no doubts, any doubts. And this is the bull team again, very clearly you see the draft pole and the system of yoke and some yoke saddles here. Very clearly we see horns, we see bull tails. So these are evidently a bull drawn two-wheeled chariot, very light chariot, a race chariot, maybe a battle chariot, but I do not state this, but it is a light race chariot with two bulls, with solid wheels, with disc wheels, and it is definitely, absolutely, it is a chariot. Nothing to say here. This is the iron logic of fact. I am a scientist. They are scientists. They must follow facts. They mustn't close their eyes, and they mustn't ignore the scientific